Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there is our non resident millennial Jay Edgar. How are you doing tonight, Ed?
I'm doing good. I just got home, had a little bit of dinner and a shower, and it's like Florida weather up here. So, wintertime me, Viking blood me, is fucking miserable right now. But once we got in, and now we're gonna have some conversation about some other shit that I don't care about. But it's gonna be a good time.
You don't, you don't care about anything, though, do you, Ed? I mean,
I
really?
really don't.
Right?
I just get the a popcorn bag and watch it all fucking burn.
So you're posing as our millennial this evening, taking the
Yeah,
place
I'm right on
of
the line, so I can identify as either.
as our
Kind of
my
like Elliot Page.
as John has pulled out this evening. I believe I see someone lurking in the YouTube, um, commenting on your hippie haircut.
Yeah.
Uh, but good to
I,
see you.
I would have to have it cut to have a haircut.
Yeah, that's true, right? Right? Ed is bi-generational. He is, and we're celebrating that this month. But no, apparently John. I thought John wasn't going to be available, but apparently he is available. But I don't know.
He's
Are
touching
you
his wiener somewhere else.
right? Right. He's at one of those places. See, Seawall has shown up in High Leaf. Both now we've got two half tracks in. Jesus,
Huh?
we're gonna have to get more parking.
Did we determine whether that means an 80 millimeter or if that's just 420
No, he
millimeters?
he says it's 420 millimeters, but I think if you duct tape them all together, you could do a really a good number on that with an 80 mil. I just think it's math. I mean, math it's our friend, right? They told me I'd never use it, but here are opportunities to use it all the time.
Well, I don't know about quad 20 millimeters, but I do know, or at least I used to before I got a CDL, just a little bit about 420.
Seawall carries an 8.8 centimeter band hammer cannon. So Ed, you've got your own fancy channel. Everybody knows. Most everybody that's in here knows who you are. You do contemporary. You do the Red and Ed show. How are things going with you and your podcasting life?
Things are going much better and much quicker. I don't know, which, by the way, I got to ask you off mic if you're going to be participating, but I'll let you answer afterwards because we are doing a retirement party for the old HP laptop tomorrow because I just built something that's not top of the line, but compared to what I just came off of, is like riding the fucking lightning to podcast from. I
Right.
just built an MSI desktop. And goddamn, is that thing ever fast? But otherwise, yeah, we're growing. We've got more people coming in here. Elaine will be back on Monday. John came over and hung out with us last week because she was out camping. And it looks like we're going to have some guest hosts for Contemporary coming up in a couple weeks too. So
Nice. Been doing so. Now, when you say a retirement party for the HP, are you gonna? Is there a possibility that you're gonna take a page from Office Space?
I am not actually because that still makes a good thing to carry around for like if I want to go to my parents. That's the hard part about this big Rosewell desktop over here is it doesn't travel well.
Um, now, I will say this: if you look out there, you can find yourself a great little suit, a carrying case, as opposed to the hard case you have on your desktop, to where it has a handle and everything, and you just spool up all your cords, and you just carry that and your monitor with you. It has you can get a thing on the side to put your keyboard and mouse in, and just tote everything with you and make that desktop portable.
Yeah, but
it's
this fucker is
custom
really
stuff.
really heavy.
Oh, give me a break! Really heavy. Come on, you. Oh, God, you kids these days in your let me tell you what towers use. You know why they're called a tower? Because once upon a time they were. It was like you had to look up and you'd be like, "Hey, I can't turn it on." I mean, they were behemoths. These days, now they can, I mean, they can do like great computers in little mini fucking tiny frames.
Yeah, but that's also what's sitting next to me.
Do what?
That's not what's sitting next to me.
I know.
I've seen some of the little ones, and I've actually been looking into experimenting with some Raspberry Pi projects, but that's not what's sitting next to me.
Oh, I'm just talking about the small frame, a small form frame.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those at work.
Desktops, just the simple stuff. They have them in different sizes now. But now, if you built one yourself, you probably went. Now, did you go with water cooling, and did you light it up? And
It is lit up. It's not water cooled, but it is lit up.
I will say the water cools are very nice. They are. They do a nice good job. But of course, I've always had a problem with like wrapping my head around having water inside my computer. Right? It doesn't speak to good computing. See, Highleaf loads his quad 20s with incendiary armor piercing rounds. That seems like a little bit of overkill for hunting, doesn't it? I mean, what the fuck is he hunting? Right.
Maybe he's just anti-black.
So, anything else going on with you, with your show? Anything else coming up? Anything big? I know you
the biggest thing is going to the biggest thing is going to be some guest hosts, which I've got some volunteers coming up for that because I want to do something that I never ever do, and I'm going to go on fucking vacation.
What?
I'm going to go do some fishing.
Fishing? Now,
yeah.
What kind of fishing?
Salmon fishing.
Salmon. Do fly salmon or salmon? You don't. I don't think I've ever been salmon fishing. Is that?
My sister likes to call it trolling for fish.
Uh-huh.
You go out in a bigger boat and you put like 25 rods throughout the water, and then you just keep driving through the water until one of them hooks.
Wow. That's so.
My brother-in-law does it. He doesn't do it commercially or anything. He's got the boat and he brings friends and family up there every once in a while. And I said, you know what? After everything that I've done this year, I need a break. So I'm going to go up there and spend a week up there. And I think John might or might not have volunteered to pick up a day. Harvey McLeod is on the fence. Jessica Green, I know, is going to do a day. I think Fritz, I got to reach out to Fritz. But yeah, I think I've got just about my entire week covered.
Nice. Well, if you've never been, you should try. Have you ever been trout fishing?
I grew up on the Mississippi River.
That doesn't mean
I went trout fishing all the time.
It doesn't mean you've been trout fishing just because you grew up on a river, right? I mean, it doesn't mean you've been trout fishing. You don't like trout fishing? Were you fly fishing or just fishing?
Just fishing.
Oh, fly fishing. I'm talking about fly fishing.
Nope, never done fly fishing.
It's supposed to be really, really fucking relaxing. But I always tried to learn how to tickle trout, if you've ever done that. Have you ever done tickle trout where you just fish them out by hand?
I have not done that.
Yeah, you go to some place where there's some good rocks and you reach under real nice and slow where they hang out in the shade, and you reach up and come up under their belly, and if you bring them out just right, you can just bring them out by hand. It's fucking.
You could always be like some of those rednecks out there that wear the overalls with only one strap over them, and line up your arm with stink bait and go catfishing that way.
Right? Yeah. There's somebody. Somebody told me that what they tried to do was like do the overalls but wear big hip waders and just swim through the water and try and catch fish in the hip waders. It's like, all right, well, that's an interesting approach. Might as well just use dynamite or a shotgun. It's just easier. Noodling. Why is noodling? What is noodling?
Noodling. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's got something to do with John. Highleaf says he doesn't have a computer. How do you not have a computer in this day and age? Is that
because
possible?
most people don't. Most people have a fucking smartphone now, and they got rid of their computers.
Really? Why would you get rid of your computer? Like,
because you got a smartphone.
Yeah, but the problem with smartphones is not everything is is mobile friendly. Like, it's constant.
Yeah.
You run into stuff that's not mobile friendly, and then doing the desktop site on your mobile is a pain in the ass. Noodle is what Ed described with the stink bait on the arm looking for catfish. Ah,
Yeah, I know. I
gotcha.
just looked that up too.
Did not know it was called noodling. Could be rigging better than Jay's as long as you got the cash, right? Yeah, we got to get ourselves a new computer. We should get Freedom Scoop computers across the board, and start a whole line of them. I'm just saying, but it's an idea. So Ed, speaking of things that I know you mentioned that stuff you don't care about. You know, there's lots of
There's a
stuff
lot
going
of
on.
that.
There's a lot of stuff going on that you don't care about right now, right? Because you don't care that Donald Trump has got a 2-year ban on Facebook, right? You know.
Not really, no. I will wind up on a rant on that. So if you want to introduce the topic,
Well, yeah.
go ahead and do that.
So Facebook, they had given him an indefinite ban, and they've turned it into a 2-year suspension. So he's suspended from Facebook till 2023, and then they will assess at that time whether the risk to public safety has receded. So they're saying that he's a risk to public safety, and I'm assuming because of all of his bullshit about COVID, that he said that, as they call it, it's just fake news. Or what is it they call it? Dangerous and inflammatory.
Misinformation.
But then, even then, it's only going to be a strict set of rapidly escalating sanctions that could lead to a permanent ban. But are you, does this bother you that they're... I mean, he's not president. Well, technically he's a president, but he's not the president. So, I mean, is he saying anything out of line that should get him banned for 2 years? Still? I mean, this has been since the...
No, but I've got different problems with this than most people do. I know, the freedom of speech people over on Liberty Twitter are like, well, this is a travesty. All speech has to be free and this and that and the next thing. And all the MAGA crowd is, we must find a way to worship our orange god. This whole thing is bullshit fucking theater from the get-go. This is a way for Zuckerberg, first and foremost, to come out and demand, and you said this a little bit off mic, I think, but come out and demand more legislation to come back and make it harder for his competitors to come jumping back up and dethrone him, which he's about to get dethroned. And then he's going to lose his precious supply of data. I need to eat data to live. That fucking bullshit story.
Well,
But I'm honestly more pissed at Trump at this point, but go ahead. Before I get into that rant.
Well, speaking to what you mentioned about off mic is what I was telling you, that as it stands right now, Facebook has a marketing effort going on where they're putting out commercials talking about, I've evolved in, people saying I've evolved in how I deal with social media and this, that, and the other. Shouldn't internet regulation evolve with that as well? And as specifically Facebook.
Yeah, that's these dumb fuck Gen Xers, no offense, who look at this and say, oh, well, I made money off the free and fair internet, and I made myself a billionaire off that. Now, fuck you. You're not going to do the same thing. That's exactly what that is.
Sorry, I hear my dog barking, and I'm kind of wondering if I should make sure nobody's breaking into my house. Sorry.
You're strapped, right?
Do I?
You're strapped, right? Use that fucking bow behind you if somebody's breaking in.
Well, the dog will bite their face off if they're breaking into the house, but anyway, no, yeah, it's this is a problem I'm having, is that this is, you would think Facebook would want less internet regulation so that they don't have to worry about this conflict between publisher and platform, et cetera, but they obviously seem to want to be more and more censorious You know, I mean, they just want to. They just really want. But a lot of it is focused on politics. This is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're wanting to have this control over how politics are presented on their platform, and I really have a problem with that. You know, because not everybody's going to make a DeSantis move where they say, "Oh no, you can't ban people. People in Florida will be able to sue you if for doing that, for you know, canceling their accounts, whatever." And Trump is here in Florida, so I'm wondering if he's not going to go ahead and, you know, take advantage of that and sue them and make some big showboat bullshit in court over this Facebook ban.
Of course he is, because Parler's coming out there, Gab is out there, and every single day some other Yahoo fucking yuppie upstart with a big computer that's bigger than mine looks at this and says, "Gee, I bet I can make a better social media than that there Facebook there." And he does the code and he does it out real nice and good. And, you know, he's possibly going to. There are hundreds of social media sites out there, just only a handful of them that people know. And then when some of these others start getting big, oh, hey, look, you have internet regulations. Oh, I'm sorry, you better just shut it down.
Well,
Look at what fuck happened with DLive.
well,
That got fucking grabbled too.
right. Well, you know, it's this. You know, you have to take into consideration that Trump started his own blog or whatever from the desk of Donald Trump.
Yeah, okay.
They shut that down. They're done. They've already closed it. It lasted for a little over a month, or right around a month, and it wasn't getting the traffic. It wasn't getting any traction. And I'm like, where are all
Yeah, it's
his
because nobody
supporters?
gives a fuck.
Right? But now, you know, and he's claiming, you know, his response, his initial response to this ban is was this: "I won't dine with Zuckerberg next time I'm in the White House." I'm like,
Whoop-de fucking do. Fuck you.
right? Are you going to make it into the White House? And who really cares if you have? We didn't expect you were going to be having dinner with Zuckerberg anytime in the near future, anyway. You know, but
I had the best dinners. Okay, we'll have so many Big Macs, but Zuckerberg won't be invited because, I mean, he doesn't even need to come into dinner anyway because he just eats data. He's a weird robot guy, and he won't let me on his website. Okay.
I am wondering if this is not a bait to actually get Donald to attack that through through litigating, which would then shine a light again on DeSantis's move here in Florida. You know, when he put legislation in place about this, and people questioned whether it was because Trump was here, or if he was actually doing it just for Floridians. And he's like, you know, it's purely for all Floridians. But now they're, you know, it's like these little chess moves, right? It's like this is the next move to try and bait Trump out and then fuck with DeSantis, who I'm assuming Zuckerberg would be more than willing to try and censor as well as we move further along in DeSantis's move towards 2024.
I don't know. Here's the problem that I have with this. Rant incoming, guys. I don't get what the big fucking obsession is with Facebook or any other big tech sites. And I reserve the same rage, this white hot fucking rage, for Steven Crowder for the almost same exact fucking reason. Almost the exact 100% same reason. I reserve that same rage for him. But I'm going to stick with the Donald for a second. Now, it has been offered. He has been reached out to on numerous occasions by Gab, by Minds, by Parler, by whatever stupid fucking thing Mike Lindell is coming out with. He's been reached out. These people are reaching out to him on all over the place. BitChute wants to give the Donald a BitChute channel. All these other outlets want to give him. They want to get him on there because they know full well if Gab gets him, as much as they say it's a Nazi site, where are all the journalists going to go? They're going to run to Gab.
Right.
And then they're going to take all their audience with them, and they're all going to go to Gab. And Gab is going to be flooded with people who are sitting there because a few touch betweens from the American media apparatus are sitting there saying, oh my God, he's going to say something racist. I'm going to be the first one to comment, and I'm going to call him out for being a racist. He's going to say something racist. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God.
But they didn't give a shit. You know, they didn't give a shit about his blog. I mean, where is that becomes
They can't
the question?
interact
Is
with it. That's the thing.
no matter where he goes, is he going to bring the following that he thinks that anybody would think? I mean, I would have thought he would have built something off of that from the desk of Donald Trump and gone further with that. But again, they were hardly getting anybody visiting. Anybody wanted to look at what he has to say. You think it, but you can comment on that. You can you can make blog comments. I mean, it's not like you can't interact with that. And I mean, you know, it wouldn't have been any different than his Twitter. I mean, he didn't talk back to people on fucking Twitter. He would just put shit out, and he would not respond in any way, shape, or form to the thousands.
No
of
shit, I do that all the time. But
right?
the journalists didn't want to go there because they can't come out there and make the comment on that he's going to see because they assume he's going to see it, and they think they're going to shatter his fragile fucking ego and say, "You're a racist." They can't do that on his site because he didn't have commenting. Yes, they could take and retweet it and then come out and say, "You're a racist."
Sure.
But then they're not hurting him at that point. They want to get to a place like Parler where they can hurt him. And he has a fragile ego, and you know it, and I know it. But it's the same. It's the exact same thing, like the Crowder argument. You know, I'm back on YouTube once again, and we're back, and we're going to do this and do this. Really? You were off YouTube for a month. Where's your fucking DLive page, you asshole?
Yeah. Well,
where's your Trovo page?
I think it's possible that he's just kind of run his course, and you know, even if he did go onto one of those platforms, I don't know that he would. You know, most folks are still waiting for his platform that he was going to build. Where's that? You know, where is your, you know?
Oh, it's coming. Don't worry.
Is it?
Is
it
coming?
Is it coming? Do you think he'll ban Zuckerberg? Right. So I have to ask you this: have you been like getting a deluge of pride bullshit in everywhere you turn?
Not really, no. But I live out in rural Wisconsin, and I rarely go to the city.
Dude, it's a little bit bothersome. It's a little bit bothersome to me, and I say this coming from being part of the community. It's just the things that I'm seeing is just it's really starting to press my buttons where I'm like, look, you guys want to sit out here and scream in people's faces, like, right? It's just like forcing this down people's throats in so many different ways, especially towards kids, right? You know, I mean, I don't know. Kids at a younger age don't need to be confronted with their gender issues that they don't have at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. These are not things kids need to be dealing with and being confronted with, or, you know, being forced to question. And but I'm seeing it everywhere where it's like, you know, loud and proud, and I'm like, you know, the problem with loud and proud is that's what makes people notice you and causes negative reactions. You know, I mean, am I wrong? If you look at the Black Lives Matter bullshit that went on since George Floyd, I mean, what did that do? I mean, all that really does is generate negative responses, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of any of these celebrating heritage months, especially when, you know, nobody else, you know, like there's a very specific groups that cannot do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and I think there's a healthy level of heterophobia that's associated with all of this. That's really having a negative impact, or going to have a negative impact. Stupid shit's going to happen this month if it keeps going. And, you know, but I don't know.
What are you suggesting?
No. I'm not suggesting what to stop it. I mean, I'm not. I don't
No,
know.
that's going to happen.
Oh,
what kind of hate crime are you going to commit?
what I'm going to commit.
It's okay. It's a safe place here.
I'm not going to commit.
There are only 3 people here.
I'm not going to commit a hate crime. I don't. You know what? I don't see this. I don't understand this need, and I never have. For all the years I've been around, I've never understood this need to put it in people's faces who you are. Like, force them to recognize, force them to accept. Guess what? People that aren't going to accept it aren't going to accept it whether you're in their face or not, right? And it just causes more issues and problems. I mean, the military, now they're saying, oh, well, we can't, the military bases aren't going to be allowed to fly pride flags. And I'm like, why should we be having this conversation in the military? There should only be one flag flying in the military for the military. Am I correct? I mean,
what, the Marine flag?
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But yeah, no. So I just, I don't know. We're less than a week in, and I'm already fed up with it.
I am actually excited for this Pride Month, just on some of the things that I've seen.
Well,
you know why?
Why?
Because some of the community is starting to realize what's actually going on here. I have seen people who are out and out in Pride who are pointing out the fact that these companies out here are rainbow washing left and fucking right, which they are. They absolutely are rainbow washing everything. And you see the long-haired dude, the guy with the mullet from the 80s. I don't know what movie that is because I've never seen any movie in my life. But he's got the X-ray glasses and he puts them on, and he takes them off, and you see we're proud to stand with the gay community, and it's like a MasterCard float, and he puts the X-ray glasses on and it says, "Give us money, you faggots."
Wow. I don't know.
And I quote. Let me make that clear, Susan.
I'm not sure what movie that's from. I'm trying to think. I don't love the way that the community has been stepped on in the past. Like with the HIV and AIDS epidemic that happened in the 80s, and watching the government and the CDC squash all the information on it till the first heterosexual person came up with wound up having the disease. It's like it's all bullshit how that's handled. But I don't know. There's like when I see pride parades and I see people walking around in their leather suits and their and their whips, and the dykes on bikes with riding around topless and everything, and people are bringing kids to these parades.
Yes.
And it's like, why
Did
are
you
you
see the
fucking
Bosch
putting
video?
I don't want to see your fetish on display. Yeah.
You saw the Bosch video, didn't you?
Yes, you played that clip, and I have to agree with him 100%. I don't.
What? In what universe am I agreeing with Bosch?
Right.
What is happening?
I mean, the bottom line is it's one thing to put on a parade where I don't know, something, a St. Patrick's Day parade for Pride, where it's just, you try and keep it, I don't even know what the best word is, simple, proper, right? We don't need to see your fetishes and your bullshit on display. That's not your sexuality. That's, if you're gay, that's fine. You march out there with other gay people, and that's great. Because to be honest with you, I've always seen the pride parades as they should be more of a protest, not a parade, right? That's what it should be, and it's not. I mean, it gets turned and warped, and when you're bringing kids to stuff like this, where, you have to start answering questions and talking to them about things that they don't need to be dealing with. They just don't.
Right.
They don't. This is. I have a son. My youngest child is transgender, and I very clearly look, how you identify and how you see yourself, what you think you are or know you are, is up to you. and I get that. But nothing should happen until you're an adult and you can make those decisions. These are things that you need to think about when you are capable of making these decisions on your own. And if you want to talk and you want advice, that's great. But I don't want to be in a position of authority and giving you, a bunch of advice to where I'm impacting immature decision making, right? Because you don't know as a 10-year-old, 14-year-old where you're going to be 5-10 years later when you're making adult decisions and you're living an adult life, right? Because it's a completely different world. And so I don't love it the way that it's being handled. As much as it's being shoved in people's faces over the last few years, it's just gotten on a bigger role of a louder scream, as it were. And it's like, look, you need to accept the fact that some folks aren't going to accept it no matter what you do. And just that, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating to me, to be honest with you.
Well, and I have to be concerned with this. And I've said it about the transgenderism issue. I've said it about homosexuality as well, along with the socialist people who, want to sit on unemployment forever and have the government take care of them as well. When you're in a Marxist situation, especially on the homosexuality and transgender issues, when you're in a Marxist society, like Germany in the 30s, like Russia in the 20s, like Italy in the 20s, what is the most basic form of production that you, as a citizen, can engage in? Making more workers.
Make more workers. You mean breeders?
What do gay people and transgender people not do?
Well,
Make more workers.
Well, there are avenues where they adopt, and then lesbian couples, gay couples, they have midwives that have babies for them. There are a lot of couples that pursue this, But I get what you're saying, right? But the bottom line is look, I don't care what it is you do. I don't what your job is. What if you're successful, not successful. Guess what? You're being gay, bisexual, transgender. None of those things are relevant to what you're doing, right? And who you are as a person. I don't care what your sexuality is. If you're my neighbor and you're a good neighbor, right? I mean, I don't need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need you carrying around a sign all the time in some metaphorical sign all the time, making sure that everybody knows you're gay, no matter what. It's like, that's your, I don't know. That's all you are is gay. That's all you are is bisexual. That's all you are. I mean, I don't sit around screaming it. Most people would never know that I'm bisexual. But it's always been who I am. I'm not, I don't carry a card and a flag around or a shirt around screaming it out to people so that they have to know. It's none of their fucking business. It's unimportant.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's the way I've always conducted myself, too. I don't care who you fuck or how you pee.
Exactly.
Because I'm not going to be involved in either one of those things.
But we've reached a point now where you must know, Ed. You must know.
Yeah.
You must know. It's important that you must know. I see Ron Helton has joined us in the house tonight. I also see a sly comment from Cameron Michael. Helton says, post on communist platforms. You have to follow the commie rules, right? But Cameron told me to be careful because I'm going to get my mic cut off. I believe I'm in control of my mic, so I should be okay there.
The government is very in control of your mic.
Seawall says the community has gone so far, I don't know if this society will tolerate being out of the closet anymore after this is done, a.k.a. America will be, at best, become a don't ask, don't tell society. I don't know, man. I don't know. The problem is again, the 99% who are out there towing the line, just doing the work and going about their business are not being listened to like the 1% that are out there screaming their heads off. And this is what's amazing to me in a country that's supposed to be of all the people. It's like, oh my God, we can't do all of this shit based off the voices of just a handful of people. Seawall says, or worse, that consumes resources, Robert. What consumes resources?
The lesbian couples having midwives and
that's-
such.
Seawall says also authoritarian societies tend to be very socially conservative. Yes, and I don't have a problem with a little more conservatism in our society these days, from the standpoint of how we are socially, because it's gotten far out of hand with social media, where we're at there. It's insane. Highleaf says if you have to make a point to tell people what sexuality you like, what sex you like, then you are stupid. Yes, right. Why? Right? I mean, the only time I ever talk about it on here is when I want to put things into perspective. Like, I'm a part of that community, and it still pisses me off how the small percentage of the community creates perception and division over the way they handle it. It isn't a 99 to 1%. Okay, maybe that's a little drastic, but when it's all said and done, it's, there's a vocal minority. No matter what you say, it's a vocal minority that seems to be getting things done in this country, or making the significant waves in this country. Highleaf says people let others know what they like to fuck because they get attention. Yeah, there's an attention grab there, absolutely. Random Randy lurking. He has the stream up on TV, but I'm playing games on my phone, so I haven't been talking. Seawall says, Rob, it isn't a small percent. Seawall. All I'm saying is, I know that you want to be contentious, but the bottom line is, this is a vocal minority. It's always been a vocal minority. It is these people, whether it's the LGBT community, the black community, the Hispanic community, whatever culture, whatever religion, it is a vocal minority that's out there raising hell. I know that there's larger percentages of these people, but it's the vocal ones that are the problem, and that always seems to be a smaller percentage of people. I mean, it's not as many as you think, right? I mean, it's kind of like saying the extremely large majority of people that have been sick and dying from COVID, right? I mean, we look at those numbers and we're still dealing with a very low mortality rate on that. But what have they done? What do they make the numbers seem like to you, right? I mean, that's their job, right? But these people get blown out of proportion, and unfortunately, Washington is listening to this bullshit, and they're acting on it. Hi, my name is blank, and I like to fuck blank. Nice to meet you. That will be the new greeting soon. Yeah, along with your pronouns. Don't forget, you'll need to throw your pronouns in there. But speaking of these isms and stuff, I sent something over to you, Ed. There's a new book that's out that is making an argument that the Second Amendment was actually anti-black, an anti-black amendment, because the Second Amendment does not, in its true nature, allow for black people to own guns, etc. Like, it was never...
Okay, show me the line in there that
Right.
says that.
Right? But, so they're saying that, at the same time that the Second Amendment, all this was going on, they were actually taking guns away from black people, and black people weren't allowed to have weapons like that, et cetera, and have continued to do so throughout the years, and that there's this thought that the Second Amendment needs to be further amended to address this oversight, to address this racist angle on the Second Amendment. It said it was designed and has consistently been constructed to keep African Americans powerless and vulnerable. Now,
Okay, show me the line in there. That's
right. So is there this idea that the Constitution? I mean, are we still relying on this idea that the Constitution does not pertain to black people? Is this some foolish argument that is capable of being made? Because
they can make any argument that they want.
Because, at the time, supposedly black people weren't considered people. They weren't considered men. They were considered animals, whatever. But is this, do you think that this kind of rhetoric is going to get us? Because, look at all the shit that just went on with the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Wall Street massacre. I mean, just the tonality, the narrative that is being spun for a whole week of that, right? With Biden going out there and Kamala Harris talking about it and how, it was horrible. And now people there are demanding reparations, right?
Of course they are.
And for God's sakes, the things that were being said at the rallies there around this, like literally black leaders of different organizations, basically different types of Black Panther groups, but standing in front of people and telling them that soon it's going to be time for the rat-a-tat-tat, and we go out and kill everything white we see. I mean, how?
And enjoy that thought.
How is that okay to say in this environment where saying the converse as a white person would get you thrown in jail?
You just don't even try to do the whataboutism with that.
Put
these people off as the racist fucks that they are and move on with your day. But that's all this is they come back out to try to do whataboutism because we can do that because they did it to us for years and years. Well, show me what I did to you.
But that's where the slant comes in, that these kind of things are allowed on the one side because supposedly we're still oppressing black people. So it's allowed to be said. And, and it feeds to a narrative that is being spewed by our own government. Right? I mean, they're feeding off of each other, and this is bad stuff. I'm like, why can't we put a stop to things like this? Why can't we shut this down as easily as it's expected to shut down a white supremacist group? Right? I mean, I don't understand.
Because they're depending on these people for votes. It's the same thing with Pence. Think about that for a second. Did you see the story about Pence that I read this morning?
No.
I don't know if you saw it or not.
No.
So Pence is apparently out there. The article is in my Discord, where he's coming out and saying that he may never see eye to eye with Trump on what happened on January 6th, and I still support him, and we had great conversations when we're together, and I may never see. Bullshit, dude. You were planning on running in 2024, and you need that fucking MAGA vote, just the same way Democrats know that they need to have almost the entire black vote enshrined for them in order for them to make inroads anywhere.
Please tell me.
And if they lose 10% of the black vote, they're fucked. They lose everything.
Well, I mean, is it really hard to expect that you're gonna have the black vote as you're talking about a Republican, but is Pence? I don't know, Pence.
I'm saying that the Democrats, because they need to keep going up and up and up.
Because
they promise more. 10? They can't lose 10% of the black vote, or they're fucked. They're done.
Well, yeah.
They cease to exist as a party if they lose 10% of that vote.
Well, I mean, but they seem to be pushing more for the Latino vote over the last 2 or 3 elections. Like it's almost seemed like it's shifting where the Latino vote is more important than the black vote, or gaining more importance than the black vote. And
They're going the completely wrong route if they want the Latino vote. I can tell you that. Because in spite of the fact that, we've got the racism and the border and this and that and the next thing, the Latin community that I've ever been introduced to, and this might be different in other states, but every Latin community I've ever been to is highly Catholic.
Sure. And meaning that you think that they're going to be more conservative, right?
Or at least anti-abortion. Pro-marriage, anti-abortion.
Yeah, I could see that to a certain extent, but I think
I wouldn't say they'd go completely conservative, but they would definitely be further in the let's not do the abortion camp.
But you've got to, I think you have to take into account the number of Latino people that are, second, third generation American now, right? I mean, the Latino community is only growing bigger and bigger, and a lot of the community is now becoming more, for want of a better term, Americanized,
Yeah.
which begins to be a little more liberal when you're talking about Catholicism and stuff. Like, if you take a look at African Americans, for instance, or black people, for instance, they're very religious. They believe in God, Jesus. Even fucking gang members are like Jesus, God, love, and all of this, while they're mowing down their brothers and sisters in the streets.
And why do you think that we're moving this reparations talk? Because the patriarchal black family is out of favor in every other part of the Democratic agenda.
Well, I don't know what them. Latinos are they not disproportionately targeted by police as are African Americans, because they are. I mean, skin color has always made a difference when it comes to police action, that kind of thing, especially when you're going into, lower socioeconomic areas. And Latinos, they live in many of these areas as well, and get caught up in that, brown skin profiling, but you don't hear about that. And I wonder if do you think that's because they are a stronger community, that they're imports?
They're a very family oriented community is one of the big things with that. It goes down to the welfare side of this too, and that's one of the problems that they have is, when you start throwing people on welfare, that destroys the family unit of any demographic group out there, because once the state becomes daddy doesn't need to be in the fucking picture anymore. But then they can also come back and say, oh, well, these evil white people enslaved you too, and we're going to try to use this welfare as a reparation for this, and you don't need no man, because, and honestly, I don't want to go completely down the racialized conversation here, because it probably will. If we get too far into some of the stuff, it probably will get us thrown off YouTube. But think about just the stereotypical black dude who's going after a white girl. You got the black women in the community who are strong, boisterous, don't need no
Depression
man,
makes the
kind
weak
of
feel
thing.
like.
Whereas generally the white women that they go after are a little bit more submissive, a little bit more, ready to let the patriarchy preside, that kind of thing. More docile.
Yeah, I can agree with that to a certain. But I live in a, I've been dealing, here in Orlando for many years now, and I've watched the Hispanic community grow, and I've interacted, had a lot of interaction with the community, different people, this, that, and the other, and hell, there's quite a few here in Florida. Of course, they come up from Cuba, they come from Puerto Rico, they come from the Dominican Republic, and I've met lots of Hispanic people that come here and immediately take advantage of programs like welfare and financial aid and all of the give me's, right?
Mm-hmm.
To when they first get here, and many of them just continue to ride that train, and and it's like I mean, it's not like they're not just as involved with gang violence as any other race in this country. And it's but that vote is important. I mean, the Latino vote in Florida, I mean, that's the difference between whether we flip red and blue in Florida. It's getting to that point where it's like going to be the most impactful vote to get here in Florida. And
I'm actually a little surprised to hear that coming out of the Cuban community, because most of them are coming to specifically escape socialism / communism. I'd be surprised that they went directly back into socialism, communism.
well,
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a little surprising.
well, I will say that Ron DeSantis is doing a good job here of feeding that conservative-minded Latino vote here in Florida with a lot of the legislation he's passing. So, he might get himself a lock on the Latino vote here in Florida.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's not as many states that carry the weight. Well, between Texas, Florida, and California, there's a heavy Latino vote that you want to get. And those are some big number states when it comes to an election, to a presidential election.
The worst part, the thing that blows my mind about this more than anything else, is why we are even having this conversation. What I was promised when I was still in high school or middle school, even, this was starting to come to me, that by this point in my life, we would be at a completely post-racial society. And fuck, in the 90s, we were moving that direction. And now we sit here, okay, well, we want this vote from the Latinos, and we want this vote from the blacks, and we have to get the blacks and the Latinos.
Right.
Why?
Well, because
Let's make a coalition of who's going to get the government the furthest out of the way so these people can live their fucking lives.
Because because it can be spun that it's not about race, it's about culture, and that you have to target these different cultures because the culture ultimately gets lumped into a singular Borg mindset. Oh, all black people are going to vote Democratic. Well, that's not true, right?
No.
But that's the assumption. So you target these groups, and by doing that, the problem is that you give these groups leverage to start being more vocal and demanding more. Well, if you want to get our vote, we got to get reparations talked about. So for years now, the speed of the volume of reparations talk has been climbing again, because these two parties target these demographics, and a lot of it is racial. They also target the religious demographics, and now they're going to be of course, the last 2 or 3 elections, it's really become a focus to target the LGBTQ plus demographic as well.
Well, it's because that group has also realized that the government contract is basically what's keeping them from saying love is love.
Right? But when you give them that kind of leverage, what are they going to do with it? I mean, how are they not going to jump on the train and try and ride it as far as it can? And they feed off of each other. Then the vote becomes more important to get because they're vocal now, right? Mm-hmm. Like, come 2024, the black vote is going to be, it's going to be between the black vote and the LGBTQ plus vote. I mean, the female demographic, it's going to be there, but we've kind of broken the glass. Even though we haven't had a female president, we got a female vice president. The glass ceiling has been cracked, so that vote isn't going to be as impactful as those other two. But the vote that's not going to matter is the conservative white voter or the liberal white voter. Those are not going to. You can't target that. And I'm like, guess what? There's a huge demographic of voters in that category, in those categories. Sorry to say, but there are. And if you're going to shun that for pandering, they're only going to gain more power. They're only going to keep gaining power. And I don't know. I don't know how to. I know there's no way to stop it. And I don't know. I'm trying to make my peace with the inevitable. But you're right. I mean, we're supposed to be at a post-racial situation at this point. We should be.
Yeah.
Any smart society would be at that point. But we've, I don't know. We've got this stupid idea that, we're confusing tribalism with racism. And that's the biggest problem. It's tribalism. You can't stop tribalism.
Right.
If you want to do something about actionable racism, that's fine, but you can't stop tribalism, and that I think is the biggest problem with pandering to the votes, and doing these different things, where you're shutting down anybody that's talking about black people if you're not black, right? You have no voice in this, or you don't have a voice if you're not Latino to talk about Latino issues, and you can't talk about women's issues if you're not a woman, and if you're not gay or part of the community, you can't talk about LGBTQ. However, none of these groups are worried about old white men legislating on their behalf.
Right.
Right? I'm like, whoa. Whoa. They don't as long if they're against you, they shouldn't have anything to talk about. But as long as they're pandering to you and they're making legislation that affects you, they're okay. They can talk about it all they want.
Well, and that does go down to another gripe that I've had with the government and what they're actually doing with this. Do you think reparations would actually happen?
It is starting to happen in some places. What state is it? What city is it?
Oakland, I know, is doing that, but they're going to run out of money in a hurry.
Well, they're like giving they actually was it in Miami? Not Miami, Tulsa, that they're doing something with this $25,000. Like they've taken a small handful of people that I want to say that are descendants. Was it in Tulsa? I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact location. It was just I glanced at the article and I was going to go back to it. But anyway, they've got a handful of individuals where they're giving them $25,000, but this is for housing only, and like everyone else is like up in arms, like they have a dual pissed approach. Well, why aren't you giving reparations to all black people in the community? And then on the flip side, it's like, well, why are you telling them they have to use it for housing? Well, that's what it was about. It was about housing that got, taken away and redistributed. So they're giving them money to $25,000 per person to go get housing, to put towards what the fuck? But
well, one of the things also to pay attention to when you're doing the reparations on especially on a municipality level like that, like we're seeing in Oakland and Tulsa and everything else, is that may also be a draw to get more voters and hands in there, because hey, you can come here and you can get free stuff, and hey, make sure you're going to vote the right way here. But to do this on a federal level, what happens when people start having upward mobility? It's the same argument that I make about the student loan thing. What is going to happen to these white college kids once they have upward mobility, now that they don't have to sit and scrimp and save and put every penny that they own into their student loans because they got a worthless degree and they're working as a barista right now? Now they have the upward mobility, which means they're going to go out and buy a house. What do you get when you buy a house that you don't have when you're living in mom's basement or renting a cheap fucking apartment somewhere? Property tax. As they sit here and say, why the fuck am I paying all this? What am I going to do with this? What happens to people once they get upward mobility? They stop being controllable. I'm not going to say they vote Republican, but they stop being controllable.
Well, but I mean, where do you? I mean, I don't know. I can't see doing, countrywide reparations, and I mean, how do you even, But it's starting to happen on small scales in different places. You know,
Like I said, that's just basically to bait people to move into these municipalities that
sure.
are so ravaged and fucking war torn. You can't pay somebody to live there.
Well, when it's
Well,
also
I guess maybe apparently you can, but
it goes hand in hand with the defund police movement that's going on in a lot of places. Hey, you know, we'll take this money and we'll put it back into the black communities. So, these things that they're doing, playing, moving the money around. Yeah, I get it that it's pandering to them to a certain extent, but it's white knighting in such a way that, it's going to cause more problems, right? You're only going to increase racism. That's all you're going to do. Actionable racism. You're going to increase the level of anxiety and anger in other people to where they're going to do God knows what. I mean, just
well, yeah. And then you've got a free martyr. You've got a free martyr right there, and you can come up and say, "Look at what this evil white racist Republican did to this poor black person. He must be a Trump supporter." Fucking spare me. Fucking puke.
now. Seaball makes a good point. He says bribing the populace into gaining loyalty power has always been a warning sign of the end of a government. And yeah, I mean, I can agree with that.
Yeah, but Seawall's sitting over there beating his meat because he's got a massive heart on because he thinks that means the authoritarian right-wing government is coming.
Well,
That's going to put the fucking boot onto all of this.
well, and that I'm not going to lie, Ed. I mean, the bottom line is once these narratives gain enough traction to where the political agenda leans towards regulation, that boot is going to come down equally hard across the board. They're not going to like where it lands because it's asking for more boot because they have this insane idea that, oh, the boot will only come down on everybody that's out there oppressing us. But then it's like, well, stop for a minute and think. You're not the only group who's feeling oppressed, right? So the boot's got to come down equally hard for every group. And guess what? You are in an opposing group to some other group that's feeling oppressed. Like some other group sees you as an oppressor. So the boot comes down for all. And it's going to slam harder and harder and harder. And I mean, I'm not excited by that. I'm just saying that's the inevitability. Either we have like complete collapse and chaos, or we have a government that decides, here it comes. Fine, we're going to start really fucking putting the boot down. We're going to be thought police. We're going to be, we're going to police everything. And I don't know. I don't know how you avoid that because, this road to an economic collapse, they're starting to see the signs up there, right? They're being warned. And so to turn that around, that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to have to be. Especially if they keep giving out money, that's going to be the anchor by which they go by. Look, we're giving you all this money. Now it's time for you to toe the fucking line. Deal with it. And I don't know. Get out. Get the fuck out. Run. Hide. The boot's coming. The boot will come. It's the only way to control a populace as schizophrenic as ours.
I'm just ready to sit back out in the rural area and watch it all fucking burn with some popcorn. And anybody else who wants a chair next to me can have it.
I got. You can come hang out with me too. I mean, I got things to do. We can just fuck around and shoot some gators. Have a good time and keep people off my property. Fucking stay away. Just stay the fuck away. But I don't know. It depends on the next crisis they can generate. That'll let us know, whether it's going to be an economic collapse or if they come up with something else. I think this month it's going to be, they're gonna try and tell us that it's China and Russia coming after us, because that's what the UFO thing is going to be. I've come to that determination, because they're saying that it's not U.S. technology, and They don't have anything to, definitively say it's alien technology, but it could be Russian and or Chinese technology, because they've been working with hypersonic stuff, or focused on hypersonic stuff, and I'm like, okay, so
Well,
this is where it's going to go.
To be completely fair, George Tsoukalos doesn't have any definitive proof to say that it was alien technology in the ancient theory either, but he still goes on History Channel every fucking day and does it
Right.
with his wild, weird fucking hair.
Well, they're supposed to drop this on the 25th, but of course, there's been leakage of this, that, and the other about little things in it. But that's what that's one of the things they're pointing to is, while it's not us, and we're pretty sure it's not aliens, it could definitely be the Russians and the Chinese. And I'm like, really? You're going to tell us that they're so technologically devoid of being able to compete with us on a militaristic standpoint, but they've got the technology to fly 10,000 miles an hour at the drop of a hat? The fuck? What the fuck? Yeah. All right. Now, watch. They're gonna turn China and Russia into super bad guys by the end of this month.
Well, Jesus Christ, they already have.
Well, see, they're gonna turn them into a real threat. Like, they're gonna let. This has got the makings of an attempt to start like a real Cold War, right? Like a really, really dangerous Cold War.
Well, hurry the fuck up. I want to play Fallout in real life.
Do you? Right.
Maybe I'll get ghoulified.
Bring it on. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up and get out of here. So why don't you take a minute and plug yourself, as it were, here on the air. I know you love.
I thought you didn't want to watch any kinks.
I just don't. I'm asking for it.
Oh, you want me to plug my channel?
I don't want you to put it in my face. I'm asking for it, right? So it's I don't want unwanted attention.
Well, my name is Jay Edgar. I am, as mentioned at the top of the show, the host of Contemporary with Jay Edgar. You can check that out 7 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, or if you prefer, on a later day. I am also one half of the Red Net Show. You can come and check that out on all major streaming platforms as well. That is on Monday nights at 5:30 Central Time. Go check us out over there. Occasionally we do have other streams, usually on a Saturday. We'll take some listener questions, calls maybe sometimes here. Maybe we'll sit down and have a round table. I need to have another one of those again because I haven't done that in a good long time. But you can find all of that over on my YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/JEdgar101. And if you look in the description of any of the videos on that channel, you can find all the other places that you can find me, including my Twitter. That is at EdsBlog Twitter with a 1 in place of the I. You can go check me out over there. And you can also go over and bookmark freedomscoop.com. Pardon our dust, we are still under construction. But there, once we get back up and running, you can find great shows such as The Generational Gap, Where We Sit, also the Already Conservative, the Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff and the Freckles and Brit Show, all will continue to be carried on the website. So definitely come back over and check us out over there. Put the bookmark up there, because once we're back up and running, you will start to see all kinds of good content come up on that webpage. So definitely go and check that out.
Nice. And yes, you can also, if you look down in our description, you'll find a link to Ed's YouTube channel and also his Twitter in the description down below. Also there you'll find a link to our Buy Me a Coffee. John and I do like coffee, although I think John spends it on beer. But buy us a coffee,
He's
buy us
Irish.
a beer. It's all the same thing. But we are looking to reach a goal of 100. Our first $100 on there, and then John's going to do a live drunk game stream with the supporters that have made that happen. Also down below, you can find a link to our Discord.
How far off are you on that, by the way?
I think we're about 25% of the way up. Maybe getting closer to 50.
I'm not that generous.
We're getting closer to 50% of the way, actually, I think, after this the other night. But Quest Fanning has been a real big supporter there, throwing us a few bones here and there. But also in the description, you can find a link to our Discord server where there's lots of chit chat that goes on. Sometimes there'll be some voice chatting going on, and a delicious selection of not safe for work content for anybody who enjoys it. You can also find us at Twitter at the Gin Gap P, as you see right there on the screen. That's us on twitter.com. Outside of that, you can also find us on Gilded. We have a minor presence there. John has not been good about his his public relations portion of his work to where he's got Gilded up and fancy or anything like that. And I'm assuming he blames you, Ed. Why, I don't know.
Now, we do need to get some more people on there. I think that's going to be good.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, definitely want to get Gilded going on. And again, Freedom Scoop that Ed mentioned, I believe there's a link down there if you want to go and bookmark the Freedom Scoop for when it does get back up and on its feet. But outside of that, much love and appreciation for everyone who's shown up this evening for the chit chat that was going on. Ed, been really thrilled to have you on here standing in for John. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a neck beard beside me talking about all this stupidity. But we will be coming back again now. Coming next week, things are going to be a little bit hectic for me. So, Ed, I may tap into you a little bit while you're not on vacation in case you might need to help John out. But I think he can handle most of it by himself if he has to. Because next week is my big packing up and moving week, getting ready to get the hell out of Dodge here, but I'm going to try and make room for the show. At least 2, if not all 3 of the shows next week. One of those will be Monday night at 9:30 for Fill in the Gap, where we try and bring a little humor to start your week. Then we'll also come at you again on, that's at 9:30 p.m. We'll come at you on Wednesday as well for a rousing episode of Shooting the Shit. At 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday night as well. And then, of course, a week from now on our next Friday edition, which comes at you at 9:30 p.m. as well. All of those times are the Eastern time zone, the one and only true time zone, not to be confused with other posers such as, I don't know, that guy. With your other
You're going to do that right after I go throw 5 fucking coffees at you? Fuck off.
Hey, it's not my fault you don't live in a true time zone. You're a second-hand time zone. It's not my fault. I have to say the truth. I speak the truth.
Just as I'm buying coffee too.
I love you, Ed. I truly do, and I'm gonna love your coffee. But we're gonna get the hell out of here. Thanks everyone for showing up tonight. Thanks again, Ed, for showing up. Have a wonderful night, folks, and peace out.
Take care.